Every hidden advantage of each birth month. January, discipline, relative age, and why you keep going when others stop. January-born people benefit from something psychologists call the relative age effect. It sounds boring, but it quietly explains why you function so well when motivation disappears. In school systems, January kids are usually the oldest in the class. That means slightly more brain development, slightly better emotional regulation, and slightly earlier praise. Your brain notices this and draws a powerful conclusion. Effort works. That belief hardens early. Over time, this builds strong executive function, the mental skills responsible for planning, impulse control, and doing things you don't feel like doing, which unfortunately is most of adult life. Physically, January-born people tend to show steadier stress hormone patterns. You don't spike dramatically, you don't crash theatrically, you treat pressure like background noise instead of a personal insult. Hidden advantage. You don't quit just because things feel slow, motivation is loud, discipline quietly finishes the job. February, dopamine, novelty, and the why brain. People born in February tend to score higher in openness to experience, a personality trait linked to creativity, abstract thinking, and questioning things everyone else accepts. Seasonal prenatal factors influence dopamine sensitivity. The brain's "this is interesting, let's explore" chemical. Your brain gets rewarded for novelty and curiosity, not just compliance. That's why rigid systems exhaust you and flexible ones energize you. You're not rebellious, you're allergic to unnecessary rules. Emotionally, you process internally before reacting. People may interpret this as detachment, when in reality, you're mentally disassembling the entire premise of the situation. Hidden advantage. You don't confuse tradition with logic. You're not difficult, you're mentally unconvinced. March, mirror neurons, emotional perception, and quiet awareness. March-born people often show heightened sensitivity in mirror neuron systems, the brain networks that help us read other people's emotions. You notice tone changes, posture shifts, and emotional withdrawal early, sometimes before the other person knows it's happening. The key difference is that you don't immediately react, you observe, you store information, you decide whether it matters. Physically, March-born individuals tend to have adaptable stress and immune responses. You don't overreact to every signal, which mirrors how you handle emotional stress as well. Hidden advantage. You see emotional shifts before they become problems. Sensitivity isn't weakness, it's early data. April, stress response, reaction speed, and action-first thinking. April-born people often show faster reaction times and higher baseline energy. Prenatal development during increasing daylight supports nervous system responsiveness. Your stress response doesn't freeze, it activates. Psychologically, you score higher in approach motivation, meaning you move toward challenges instead of avoiding them. You don't need certainty to act. You learn by doing, not waiting. Emotionally, you recover quickly. Failure doesn't linger because you don't personalize it. Hidden advantage. You turn uncertainty into momentum. Overthinking feels responsible. Action actually works. May, nervous system, regulation, circadian rhythms, and why you're calm. May-born people tend to have unusually stable emotional regulation, and there's a biological reason for that. Spring births are associated with more consistent circadian rhythm development during late pregnancy. In simple terms, light exposure during key developmental windows helps calibrate sleep-wake cycles and stress hormones more evenly. Translation: your nervous system doesn't overreact to everything. Psychologically, this shows up as lower baseline anxiety and better emotional recovery after stress. You don't stay activated longer than necessary. You deal with the problem, then your system powers down, instead of replaying it at 2 a.m. Physically, this matters. Chronic stress damages the body over time. You avoid much of that damage simply by not treating every inconvenience like a threat to your survival. Hidden advantage. You stay regulated when others spiral. You're not emotionally detached, you're emotionally efficient. June, verbal processing, neural flexibility, and why you can explain things without causing resentment. June-born people often show strengths in verbal fluency and cognitive flexibility, meaning your brain switches between ideas quickly and expresses them clearly. Seasonal prenatal development research suggests longer daylight exposure during late pregnancy supports left hemisphere language development, which plays a major role in communication and verbal memory. Psychologically, this gives you an edge in social navigation. You don't just know things, you know how to say them. And that's the difference between intelligence and influence. You also adapt language to your audience without consciously trying. You simplify without dumbing down, clarify without sounding condescending, and adjust tone without losing meaning. Hidden advantage. You reduce confusion before it becomes conflict. Being right isn't enough. Being understood is power. July, attachment systems, thermal regulation, and emotional endurance. July-born people often show stronger attachment security and emotional memory. And yes, there's a physical component involved. Early life temperature stability has been linked to stronger caregiver proximity and bonding behaviors, which influence how attachment systems develop. July births benefit from environmental warmth that encourages physical closeness during infancy. Psychologically, this produces adults who form deeper bonds, value loyalty, remember emotional patterns. You don't attach casually, you attach intentionally. Emotionally, you process experiences fully rather than bypassing discomfort. That means recovery takes longer, but it's thorough. You don't carry unresolved emotional debris for decades, like a storage unit you refuse to clean out. Hidden advantage. You build relationships that survive stress. People don't feel entertained by you, they feel safe. August. Relative age effect, confidence signaling, and why people assume you're in charge. August-born people benefit heavily from relative age and early physical development effects. Being older in your school cohort often means greater physical presence, earlier leadership opportunities, positive reinforcement for confidence. Over time, this shapes self-perception. Confidence becomes embodied, not performed. Psychologically, confidence signaling matters more than raw ability in group settings. Humans follow certainty faster than competence. August-born people tend to project steadiness under observation, which groups interpret as leadership. You're comfortable being seen. You don't shrink or overperform for approval. Hidden advantage. You organize groups without asking for permission. Authority isn't claimed, it's assumed. September. Executive function, error detection, and prevention thinking. People born in September show some of the strongest advantages tied to executive function development, again influenced by relative age effects. Being the oldest in academic environments strengthens working memory, impulse control, error detection. This trains your brain to spot inefficiencies early. You don't wait for problems to explode, you notice the cracks forming. Psychologically, this creates adults who are system thinkers. You refine, optimize, and improve quietly. Drama tends to follow people who ignore details. You prefer prevention. Hidden advantage. You eliminate chaos before it becomes visible. Prevention doesn't get applause, but it saves everything. October. Serotonin. Balance, social calibration, and emotional equilibrium. October-born individuals often show more balanced mood regulation, linked to seasonal influences on serotonin and melatonin cycles during early development. This creates emotional steadiness without emotional flatness. You feel things, but you don't get hijacked by them. Psychologically, you excel at social calibration. You read situations accurately, understand fairness intuitively, and know when to compromise versus when to hold firm. You don't escalate conflict, you dissolve it. Hidden advantage. You stabilize environments without dominating them. That's influence without resistance. November. Stress tolerance, pain perception, and psychological depth. November. Born people tend to have higher stress and discomfort tolerance, linked to early life exposure to colder environments and stronger regulation of stress response systems. Your body doesn't panic under pressure, it adapts. Psychologically, this shows up as emotional intensity with control. You don't externalize stress, you internalize it, process it, and emerge focused. Pressure removes distractions instead of creating them. You're not dramatic under stress, you're quiet, which is far more dangerous. Hidden advantage. You sharpen under pressure. Pressure doesn't break you, it clarifies. December. Optimism, adaptive recovery, and resilience. People born in December often show a strong optimism recovery cycle. Early environmental stressors encourage adaptability rather than avoidance. You expect improvement, but you're not dependent on it. When things fail, you adjust instead of collapsing. Psychologically, this creates fast emotional recovery. You don't fuse failure with identity, you reset quickly and move forward. Physically, faster recovery protects mental and emotional health over time. Rumination is expensive. You don't overinvest in it. Hidden advantage. You recover instead of ruminating. Momentum belongs to people who reset quickly. Your birth month didn't decide your destiny, but biology leaves fingerprints. Some advantages shout, others quietly compound over time. Like and subscribe for more explanations that make humans make sense.